Hello and welcome back to the Dota 2 Champions League Season 5 LAN Finals here in Berlin, Germany. We are now joined by Toby as well, who's jumped in for Honey, so nice to have you back here on the desk. And with the three of you, I would like to discuss the upcoming... Is that really happening? You're actually...
What?
Oh,
No,
okay,
it was
because the camera was on me.
It was off screen.
We're just having fun over on the side here, because you know what?
That's alright.
I avoid the whole, like, knowledge session, and I just come in for the fun, you know?
Alright.
Toby brings in the entertainment factor.
That's okay.
Well, you make me laugh, Toby, even when you don't want to.
I'll take you to the whiz, man. I'll take you to the whiz, and all of a sudden it'll be jazz.
Thank you. Up until that point, this broadcast looked very professional, and then jazz hands happened. You know, that's how it works.
I'm here to mix things up.
But that's okay. We can get back to professionalism in just a few seconds, as we are talking about the two teams coming up. Both of them, unfortunately, went out yesterday with a 2-0. So yeah, they both have a lot to prove. NiP, they still like, I mean, yeah, they played against VG Gaming. Probably not the best match you want to go into a tournament with. But overall, what were your thoughts on the performance despite them going out 2-0?
Game 1 was pretty one-sided. VG just sort of, washed them out. But Game 2, they definitely showed that they can put up a fight. The Tiny Wisp, they went back to their comfort zone. They put Era on Tiny, and their lanes looked a lot stronger. It was a little bit weird, they had a few odd lanes. But if they just go back to being solid and farming and making sure that all the small things are done right, I think that they can, get through, maybe defeat Empire. It's going to be a hard road, but definitely against Burden, they're going to have a good time.
Yeah, and I would say that Ninjas and Pajamas were not expecting to take a win off of VG Gaming, which may have, like, generally speaking, the mindset you go into a game like that is going to be very different, right? It's a matchup that you are not expected to be able to win. So when that happens, you may play a little differently. Maybe that's where the aggro tri-lane with the Ursa went down. They made some mistakes. They got outplayed in certain scenarios. But I know for a fact that this game up against Burden United, they're going into it with a winning mentality. I mean, I just talked to a handsome Seal Kid there in the bathroom, and he was like, it's time to win.
In the bathroom, that's where you had you talk.
In the bathroom.
Right.
Hey,
no judging.
I
That's
get
great.
close with the players. Doesn't matter.
No, that's
win or
proper
where.
bonding. So, Toby, what are your thoughts on the Ninjas in Pajamas and their current performance?
Well, for me, for NiP, like, I think they're the clear favorites coming up against BU. They've been playing fairly well. Like, yeah, they had the worst possible matchup you could have ever asked for the start. But at the same time, like, they still stuck to their guns. They didn't completely fall apart up against VG, which is very easy to do when you're going up against a team which, like, it would be debatably the #1 team in the world for Dota 2. So, yeah, I like the fact they still stuck to their guns. They still tried to play like their West Tiny. It was their comfort zone. They had a really great start. My only worry I'm going to have for them is you should have won that game and you didn't win that game. Like, you had a West Tiny which was so far ahead. So, like, how's it all going to kick back in today? Like, you didn't get through the entire series with a victory. Is that going to cripple you?
And what about the game we saw from Burden United, which were playing against the guys from Team Empire yesterday?
They did well with, I think their drafting was pretty solid. It's just the little things. They took some fights that they really shouldn't have, getting a little bit overzealous when, especially that one fight at top tier 1 tower, I think it was game 1 when they had the Necro. And Come With Me was looking for the Earthshaker, and then everyone followed into this tiny little hole. It's like, they've got themselves stuck, and then Gyro ulti comes down, and it all went apart. But
I actually asked those guys this morning too. It's like, what the hell happened there? It's like, well, Come With Me was searching for that. So it's like, oh shit, I found someone in the trees. What do I do now? And yeah, then all hell broke loose.
I think that this team, in order to truly shine, I think they need to pull out... like, Ninjas and Pajamas is a 5-man roster, and you can feel that in every single one of their games. Playstyle, just teamwork, it's all there. Burn United, I would say, it doesn't have the same kind of synergy within their own lineup. So I would say what usually benefits them the most is when that they have a lineup that is very segmented. Right, so everybody has like a specific role. Okay, mid's going to go around and get some kills here. You maybe have 1 or 2 kill squads that run around, and you've got just a carry that goes and farms away and does work. I don't want to see anything that's too like too specific in strategy. I think they just need to play to their individual strengths as players because they are a very good squad. I mean, Necroman has particularly impressed me in that middle lane.
So what would be like? What do you think they would feel most comfortable with in terms of picks to make this happen for them?
SF for Necroman. That would be my first start. Like,
Yeah.
just give SF the Necroman, and I'll be happy. Honestly, that's all I want to see. Come with me, an Earthshaker. He's actually a really good Earthshaker player. Has actually surprised me many times how effective he's been.
Yeah, I think that's right. Either get ahead early with heroes like Shadow Fiend, get some farm on your core heroes, or if things go badly in the laning phase, have a way to come back in. Shadow Fiend still fits that role. He can flash farm through. I just think that if they have solid solo lanes, if they have the two supports moving around together, I think that's where we've seen a lot of their strength. You know, having a Chen, having a Witch Doctor, having people that can move around and support the other lanes. You know, we used to see it from Empire all the time. Specifically their heroes, you know, Earthshaker and Dazzle, moving onto the side lanes, moving in to help Resolution and Silent, and they never run around as a pair. They don't go two-man roaming ganking squads because that can fall short. They lose out on farm, they don't stack for their heroes, and utilizing jungle, let's see Burden do that.
For me, I just want to see them defend the NiP push. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, I actually can't remember who I was talking to about this morning. I think it might have been Hani or even you, Zoe, talking about what NiP is going to do to Burden United. And the very simple thing is, you just play this perfect mid-game push strat with a little bit of extra change left over, which can carry you through into the late game. So you do your initial damage, you win your lanes, you feel confident with that, take out tier 1, tier 1, tier 1, restrict the movement of Burden United. That was also one of their major problems yesterday, where the vision game kind of fell off a lot for Burden United. Like, you look at their series, like, well, okay, well, the first game was actually fairly good, but the second game was, vision-wise, they had no idea what was coming at them. If they're going to win up against NiP, they have to watch the rotations. They have to see where NiP is coming and then prepare their defense beforehand, not just go searching around the dark and trying to find someone sitting in the trees.
Yeah, I believe ninjas and pajamas oftentimes outplay the enemy when it comes to team fights. I think that strategy is by far their biggest strength, but I think that teamwork in team fights is one of the technical aspects where they really do shine.
So what would be the ideal scenario for NiP? I mean, during the pre-show, Hani said that he doesn't feel the team found their groove yet. He doesn't feel like they really know what they want to play, and they didn't really go back to what they feel comfortable with, but started to play around. Do you think they will? Are they aware of that? Will they change that?
I don't fully agree with Hani. Like, I actually think NiP, yeah, it's not perfectly set. I know he's going to kill me later.
He's a big man, Toby.
I know.
Believe me, I'm standing next to him half the time.
But at least at this moment, I think I got Reddit on my side. As far as NiP goes, I think they do have their groove, but the problem is they keep getting upset all the time. So, like, I think, actually, who was it that wrote it? Eternal Envy wrote it. Like, Team Empire didn't change for the patch changed for them. I think NiP keeps having to change themselves to keep up with either the patch or with everyone else's interpretation of the patch. So they think they've got something down pat. They've got a good aggro tri lane working with the Luna base, or like they've got other lanes which are just working nicely for them. And then all of a sudden things fall apart. Like, teams work out how to counter them, and they have to find something else. It actually is very reminiscent of what happened with the old Fnatic in my mind. Whereas, like, okay, you get this groove and they're winning so hard, and then people figure them out. So then they just shift to a different strat. So they have a different pre-prepared strat which is able to win out. And that's the kind of same feeling I get from NiP.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the patch, especially that I believe it hurt Ninjas and Pajamas the most and favored Empire the most as well. So it was like it was a bad situation for them to be in. Ninjas and Pajamas, they're kind of like 4 protect 1. I think the biggest, I think actually in this patch specifically, the biggest factor is actually Jonas Umfon. He's the playmaker, right? Like, he's the one who actually pulls out a lot of plays as that offlaner. And he's the one who's the most aggressive, I would say, out of their 4 protect 1 style. I would say that the 4 that is protecting Era's carry, the most aggressive out of them is Jonas Umfon. So I think he actually has to be the biggest factor in this new patch, since it does play well to aggression. Yeah,
like when we saw him playing Brood, sure, it was nifty and it did a great job, but he never got into fights. He didn't have that impact like we see from his clockwork especially. He just jumps in, finds the opening, and then they catch people. Allow Era's farm to then work for them.
Yeah, I think he played it well, but it was just not something that really makes him shine too much as a player.
Do you guys expect a pick such as Broodmother again today, or do you feel like they're not going to resort to the same thing as we saw yesterday, where Era did pick up that Ursa, for example, but there was just no way for him, for example, to get that Roche, and then nothing really was going their way. Do you feel like they have to switch up a lot compared to yesterday?
I don't think they do. I think if they get Hansken's Chen, they get Era on something like a Luna you mentioned, you know, go for that timing push. I think that's where they're going to be at their strongest. Maybe Jonas and Clockwork, something that can move around and do stuff. You know, Broodmother's sitting on a lane, not really accomplishing much in the grand scheme of things. But about Burden, I'm not too sure. It's hard to say what they have to pinpoint. It's just down to how they feel today, really, isn't it? What they're going to pull out of their sleeve.
Well, we will find out in just a bit as the guys are in the lobby. They're ready to go, and that means we're going to head into the draft between Burden United and the guys from Ninjas in Pyjamas.
That's right, Cap. We get underway. We'll be your entertainment crew for today and this morning. Hopefully everyone's waking up beautifully, having the bangers and mash, sitting on the table with a glass of orange juice and a good game of Dota 2.
You know, I hate it when you say bangers and mash. I don't know why, but it doesn't sound right to an American at all.
Would you prefer snags?
What? Excuse me?
Snags.
What did you just call me?
I didn't call you anything. Snags on a Barbie.
Snags?
Snags. It's the Australian word for sausage.
Wow, he actually said Barbie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just yeah. Okay, let's get to the game.
Sure. Entertainment factor. Burden United gonna ban away the Wisp first. We have Ninjas in Pyjamas taking away both the Queen of Pain and the Visage. Visage, an important ban, I would say, simply because one of the strongest supports left in the pool. Now, this does still leave out the Undying Ninjas in Pyjamas. Maybe they're hoping to secure that first pick, or maybe Wisp.
Well, we have to remember that the change that came out last night, mid-tournament, thank you, Volvo, is going to change up a lot. Like, the Visage, I was wondering if teams would still want to ban him in this early stage. Like, you're taking the familiars from 4 hits to 3 hits. Doesn't seem like much, but most of the familiars I was watching yesterday were escaping with 1 hit left on them. So it was still a lot to play around with. And Undying did get nerfed a lot as far as being the solo offlaner. I think that actually hurts VG Gaming more than anybody else, just for the way they play him. But it's still a solid pickup for NiP, and they do take it as number 1.
Yeah, I mean, our brilliant pre-show analysis let us know that, you know, the patch isn't going to change up too much. Undying's still going to be pretty highly favored, and it seems like our analysis was completely right. Undying still the first pickup for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Most likely going to be run as a support here. Gyrocopter and Dragonite is the quick response out from Burden United. Again, Gyrocopter not seeing any fall in the drafting order, and Dragonite being picked up does mean, I mean, I like the tankiness of Dragonite versus Undying to start with. It does give them a lot of team fight and pushing power straight off the bat. So Ninjas in Pyjamas, they're going to have to deal with this kind of playstyle, I mean, for the foreseeable future. Whether it's in this tournament or follow-up tournaments, it seems like this patch is going to play very team fight and push-oriented. They need to be able to figure out how to adjust their playstyle to deal with kind of mid-game-centric lineups. We'll see what they do. Starting off with the Witch Doctor, I mean, it's a solid support. Nothing too special about him, I would say.
Yeah, it's a lot of control and survivability out from the first 2 from NiP.
Yeah.
Like, you get the Undying and the Witch Doctor. Yes, Soul Rip mana cost was increased, but it's still just as powerful as it was before. You just got to be a little bit more wary about your mana. So you have the Undying as well as the Witch Doctor together, Voodoo Restoration. So there's your 2 different forms of heal to keep your team alive. Then you got your control factors. You're going to have Tombstone as well as Paralyzing Cask. These 2 things make it so difficult to just chase after heroes all the time. So you've got these 2 guys together. I'm liking it for NiP, while Burden United, I kind of feel like they're being locked in a little bit more into their lanes, like revealing a little bit too much in the early stage. Like Undying, he could still potentially be a core, it could be a support, it could be aggro tri lane, it could be anything. While Burden United pick up the DK as well as the Gyrocopter. Now that Gyro is a little bit more stupider than he was before, it's going to be more difficult to run him in a support role.
Yeah, I would say that this is most likely going to be a carry Gyrocopter unless they have some sort of plan for a support Gyrocopter to start out with. I don't think that's actually going to happen. So the 2 core position, you're right, it does reveal a lot very early on, and it's something Ninjas in Pyjamas can definitely take their time in addressing. But then again, these 2 cores are strong enough in the current patch that they can, you know, you can get away with them as a 1-2 pickup simply because even if you know what's going to happen to you, doesn't mean you can actually draft and, you know, play out to counter that strategy. So they're going to ban away the Chen, which I think makes the most amount of sense on Ninjas in Pyjamas. Don't want to give them too much extra push on the side of Burden United, as well as the Beastmaster, another hero that I was talking about, does help increase pushing strategies, primarily through that attack speed aura, but his general mid-game aggression and array of abilities do kind of help out pushes in some way.
How much am I just feeling the survivability? We're going to have some very, very long team fights drawn out with just these heroes being picked up. The one thing which I was missing, which NiP semi get now, which is the fact that Axe is picked up, is initiation for the team. You could go for the Shadow Blade on the Dragon Knight, and you go for the Blink Dagger over on the Axe, but you need to wait for these items to arrive before you can initiate in. It's not as though you have like a Bat Rider who could potentially Firefly and then lasso in through a side angle. That's one thing he could do, but also a lot more effective once you get the Blink Dagger. But I'm just wondering if Burden United Ninjas in Pajamas just try and play the push game, the 5-on-5, direct ahead. We talked about the fact that Burden United's team fight is still very good. Like, that's not really a massive problem with the execution if they have the vision before it starts. So maybe they just take it and say, you know what, we're happy to 5v5 fight this, and we'll just see what happens at the end.
Do you think that Axe was, in a way, it works for Ninjas in Pajamas lineup, that's fine, but do you think in a way Burden United, it ends up being kind of a block pick? The Dazzle Axe would have been a very nice dual off lane. Particularly strong versus the first 1-2 on Dying and Witch Doctor. Like, Axe is a little bit susceptible to decay, but he doesn't mind Tombstone as much as most others. I feel like that actually would have been a great, like, dual lanes would have been the best option for Burden United to run a Dazzle Axe, and then Earthshaker Gyrocopter is actually a fine dual lane at the top lane. You get a block off, and that hero is dead. Unless they have some sort of blink or something like that to get away, they should be dead solely because Rocket Barrage dishes out so much damage. That's the beauty of Gyrocopter as a carry. He's one of the more, he increases your kill potential so much in just the laning phase, right? You see many carries that were being run in the previous patch that had some kill potential but were kind of passive in that regard. I think Troll is one of the biggest ones. He has some kill potential, a lot of kill potential in lane, but he sits in lane and just farms away. And
Durka could be happy. Except it's like it's the other way around though, isn't it? Didn't he want Necroman to have the S? Oh no,
I want Necroman to have the SF. Ninjas in Pajamas are actually going to take over the SF. He said that he basically called Dazzle and Earthshaker.
Okay.
Yeah, Burden United. I like what they're going for so far, Ninjas in Pajamas. The SF is, I think, an important core position to get against mid-game aggressive heroes like Gyrocopter, because you can actually get ahead of them and farm really quickly. So if you avoid having disastrous team fights to start with, and Ninjas in Pajamas shouldn't also lose too many towers. They've got Undying. I think that's one of the strongest early pre-20-minute fighters that you can possibly have, so they shouldn't be losing too many towers to start with. Shadow Fiend can get ahead of the Gyrocopter pretty quickly. They just need to make sure there's not a whole lot of ancient stacking, and they'll be pretty good.
Yeah, and actually, how does Burden United deal with that? Like, should they be aggressively moving into the Radiant jungle to stop this?
The best play that they have is Earthshaker roaming in. The downside of a Dazzle, he doesn't provide any roaming potential. He just gives you a lot of laning strength, which is why I say like dual lanes are usually best for him. The Bat Rider being banned away by Ninjas in Pajamas, they're assuming that it's going to be just a solo offlaner here. I guess the Broodmother being banned away by Burden United does make sense because they can run a a safe lane farming Axe, get the fast Blink Dagger to try and shut down the Gyrocopter and get initiation on Dragon Knight. Like the Axe's initiation is going to be very key if they do not have any other initiating force out of their 5th pick.
To spitball a lane at you as far as like just theory goes, Axe versus DK in the mid. Who would end up coming out on top of that one if we're going to take into account too that Dazzle and the Witch Doctor will probably be pulled into that lane?
So Axe is usually fairly good. Obviously, melee versus melee matchups usually favor him. The Dragon Knight is one of the few heroes who can do okay with it because, one, he's got a high set amount of armor thanks to that passive Dragon Blood, plus he also has the damage reduction out of Breathe Fire, which will help against the right clicks of the Axe as well, right? In order to draw aggro, you right click the enemy hero, you draw a creep aggro onto yourself, plus you're doing damage to him with your regular right clicks, you hope to get some spins. Well, that'll help mitigate both of those options, right? So I think Dragon Knight would do okay, but Brewmaster is going to be the pickup now for Burden United. I would say that should be their dual off lane, Dazzle Brewmaster bottom, Earthshaker Gyrocopter top lane, Dragon Knight as our mid. I think it makes a good replacement to the Axe, which I think Burden United would have liked to have. Any kind of heavy disable would have been good for Burden United, just because it sets up the Gyrocopter ultimate so well, and the Gyrocopter cooldown is so much more powerful than it used to be. It's a much more integral part of the hero than it was before. Like old gyrocopters, it was like, oh, it's nice to have, but oftentimes you'll see gyros like throw it out for farming, right? But that slow percentage is so important for team fights now that it's important to actually be able to get that second call down shot in.
The only problem I'm feeling right now is like if Burden United get their combos off, they're looking brilliant. As in, when I say combos off, the cooldown actually hits multiple heroes. The Brewmaster just gets to jump in, clap, split, and then have those buildings right on top of NiP from the start. But if you can waste both of those abilities, Burden United have to put so much more pressure onto Come With Me's Earthshaker to keep control of this fight, because the Undying Witch Shot to Axe and SF, like, the SF can sit back and just dish out all the damage. The Axe will get in there and cause a lot of chaos, but the Witch Doctrine Undying will keep them alive throughout it. And I'm wondering in the extended team fights if Burden United really actually have the advantage here or not. If the Gyro finds damage, I'm feeling the answer is going to be yes. But if not, I'm concerned the BU is just going to be weighted out with their primary abilities from NiP, and then they'll turn around and hit hard.
Sure. I mean, both of these carriers, Gyrocopter and SF, are very reliant on being able to have a net worth advantage, so the mid-game team fights are going to be pretty important. The Lashrak has the last pick. Now, this is not something I was expecting for this lineup of Ninjas in Pajamas. I thought they might go for some sort of pushing carry, but I didn't expect someone as I guess, as squishy as Leshrak is, primarily because the Leshrak is going to have a hard time with the natural tankiness and in-your-face action of both the Brewmaster as well as the Dragonite. The Gyrocopter usually picks up an early BKB, so he shouldn't be too bad against the Leshrak either. I think it's namely a pickup that is going to do well for them when it comes to pushing down towers and giving them a lot of team fight potential. Burden United should have the better late game, though, just purely off of Dragonite, Gyrocopter, and Brewmaster. They've got 3 different strong cores going into the mid to late game. Ninjas in Pajamas certainly do need to take an early net worth lead in order to win this one.
Yeah, but that's exactly what they're going to look for. This is the kind of strat I was talking about for NiP during the drafting phase, where NiP just look for this timing push. Like, you come in, you take out as many tier 1 towers as possible, and then you slowly suffocate Burden United down. The Leshrak is the perfect means to an end, and you're running him in an aggro tri-lane, which means you can also potentially find early kills, get up in the face of these heavy melee heroes, even though it's obviously Gyro, the range hero, up on top lane. But you're able to just push, control your own jungle, flash farm, and then your team fight. You should be able to come in with something like a mech as well, combining this up with their other healing. It's going to be really, really powerful for NiP when they push. And Burden United, they don't really have great lane clear. Like, relying on Shadow Wave to clean off a lane isn't really that great. Breathe Fire, the call down, do you really want to commit that as well as Fissure just to try and clean off a creep wave? Because then you lose your control during the team fight. So, if NiP hit their timing, this could be a very quick game. If they don't, then I agree with you, Burden United in the late game is going to be looking very, very good.
Yeah, I think Ninjas in Pajamas, I still favor their lineup, particularly since I didn't get into the potential for the aggro tri-lane for Ninjas in Pajamas. It's quite strong. From them, they actually have basically this lineup that can't really be shut down by the Earthshaker. The Fissure doesn't do anything a whole lot against an Undying, primarily because he has Tombstone, which zones you out anyway. You don't want to fight into that. They are going to get the Gyrocopter in close range to Hanskin.
Yeah, and that's perfect. The Fissure's going to hold him there. There's still a point to stay alive, a little bit longer, but not going to happen, as the Undying will be the first blood up on this top lane.
Yeah, just really bad positioning. There shouldn't be any issues. Ninjas in Pajamas in this aggro tri-lane, they should have just been able to sit back, farm up. As soon as they get to level 2, they've got a huge amount of strength with Tombstone and Decay being up, plus the array of nukes out from the Leshrak. They're going to try and chase down Minuts, though.
Yeah, but that Fidge is going to isolate them again. Hanskin's on the wrong side, and Necroman coming in with that Rocket Barrage. Sealkid as well as Era. They split the damage between themselves. Speaking of split, the split Earth's going to connect. And Necroman's going to drop them. This is where basically Burden United, could be looking at it going, well, okay, did we now overstay our welcome?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the idea of like, oh, look, guys, they're fighting inside the jungle. That means we can get all that pure Rocket Barrage damage out without being mitigated by creeps in any regards. But it's still, as long as Ninjas in Pajamas, they can fight in the jungle quite easily as long as they stay grouped up together and don't allow just one hero to soak up all that damage.
A little bit of a fun battle going up between Yunusum Farm as well as Soshka. Relying on almost all of those spins for Yunusum Farm to bring down Soshka. But he's going to move over. No bottle for this Brewmaster up just yet. But this Axe, he's just going to try and man mode the bottom lane. He's got all the consumables in the world, which doesn't belong to the Brewmaster. So, yeah. As we said before, you'd always favor the Axe and the melee versus melee. Speaking of favoring, this SF is having a great time in mid. The DK is still finding CS, but it's an SF that's got momentum.
Yeah, Sing Sing, he does what he can with Breathe Fire spamming, but the SF, as soon as you get to level 3 and you definitely level 5, you aren't dependent on your right clicks too much. Plus, by that point in time, you have such an overwhelming amount of extra damage thanks to your Necromastery that the minus percentage-based damage of the Breathe Fire doesn't actually interrupt that much damage from you. It's still enough to get those last hits. So overall, Limp should be able to free farm. The biggest danger is going to be around level 6. We'll see whether or not Burden United actually make a rotation with Come With Me's Earthshaker, and they try and shut down that SF. Lead with the Fissure, follow up with the Elden Dragon form stun, and then they could easily burst him down. That's going to be the biggest fear, but for now, he's fine.
Well, here's that stun up on top lane. They already kicked off earlier on with the Paralyzing Cask, and Necroman's going to drop. It's not the easiest stun on the wall for Era to land, but that Paralyzing Cask helps set up for it. The funnier thing is, to get Witch Doctor in range then, they use the Lightning of the Leshrac to slow down Gyro.
Oh yeah, the new Lightning actually being increased in slow duration gives a lot more possibilities for both setting up allies and your own split earth potentially. If you use it on creeps and then it bounces to the hero, you can actually set up your own split earth, which is really cool. But yeah, pretty much Ninjas in Pajamas shouldn't lose in a single lane here. The aggro tri-lane, they made a small mistake in the beginning, gave away first blood, but easily have recovered since then. The mid lane, SF versus Dragonite, obviously a farming battle that's going to favor the SF. And bottom lane, it's an Axe versus a melee here.
I just love it the way they try and be more manly than each other. There might be an engagement actually up on top as Come With Me. Well, he's going to throw the Fissure out, which isolates Limp a little bit. But there's no movement coming from Sing Sing, and that was the key thing to make that work. Yeah. But Unison Farm, just to make sure he wins the rune battle up against Soshka after he failed that one, he's making sure that Soshka has an empty bottle at all times. So we went for the call, and then they just changed positions, which means he had the front runner to the rune, and Soshka gets nothing. And the Courier's already way too busy trying to keep Come With Me and Sing Sing up in the mid with their bottles that it can't take the time to go all the way down south as well.
Yeah, Soshka's first rotation as this Brewmaster is going to be pretty key. Most of the time you want to wait until you have a Blink Dagger, but I think the natural, like the static laning phase is favoring Ninjas in Pajamas too much that they need to make early rotations. So while you don't normally want to do so on a Brewmaster, you want to pick up your Blink first, he does need to try and catch up, particularly this aggro tri-lane, which you know is going to be playing so aggressively.
Man, BU is just abandoned the top lane. Like, they're coming back now with the Dazzle. But yeah, you're right. I actually almost feel like you're talking before about like ganking up SF, like moving in towards the mid with the Earthshaker and maybe finding a kill there. But I almost feel like the Brewmaster has to make the most out of this nighttime, use that Fog of War and get in behind the tier 1 tower and fight up against NiP as they've pushed the issue. It's only 1 point up in Edict, that's why they don't want to use the fortification just yet, but with the Undying Tombstone down, they need more help here. Minut's going to pop. Hanskin stays alive. He doesn't have Soul Rip leveled up, but it doesn't matter with the Tombstone. Now he actually gets it, and well, he either can kill off Necroman or heal himself up. Either way, Hanskin picked up a double kill, and Come With Me's on the run. No one from Burden United has come to help out this top lane, so Come With Me is all alone. He at least dodges the split earth. They could have waited for the Paralyzing Cask, but he's going to die to the Lightning of Era. So a 3-man wipe for NiP for no cost.
Yeah, pretty easy kills there for Ninjas in Pajamas, knowing that, hey, Dragonite's a pretty static laning phase kind of hero. He just sits there. He doesn't really rotate too much. He actually waits for the enemy hero to rotate out, and then he usually pushes down the tower. That's his big play. Unfortunately, it means he can't help out the defensive tri-lane in any way. The Brewmaster failing to get the rune meant he didn't have any mana whatsoever to make a rotation atop to help them out. They really need to get Paris some mana now and have him make that rotation up to top lane. I think the best play they have is go for a Fissure block and then have Brew TP in and benefit off of that one. Otherwise, I don't see an opening for him. Like, is he somehow going to be able to surprise the SF? I don't think so. Like, no. Axe is going to call that rotation pretty quickly. Their only 2 plays is basically rotate the Brewmaster top and upset that aggro tri-lane, or get the Earthshaker into middle lane and they somehow get a pick off on SF. But it's a hard hero to kill at this point.
Yeah, and SF won't even fight them. SF will stick exactly where he was just now, which is in the jungle, while the rest of NiP push with Edict, which is still only level 1. We've still got a very kill-orientated lineup here from NiP because we've got the 3 points up in the Lightning. Sing Sing's going to make his way up, but he got spotted. They actually left, and this is the beautiful thing for NiP, they left a very aggressive Observer Ward, which watches the movement up through the river which spotted out Sing Sing, as well as the movement coming in very early from the jungle area. So this movement to top with 4 players from BU, they can easily defend. It looks like bottom lane, there's also some fun, as Necroman is going to TP in here. This stops the push on top, but Unison Farm's still very, very tanky, so it's going to take a lot to bring him down. He's just going to outrun him. And, well, there's the Tornado, going to finally send him up and towards the air. Now they can go for the Rocket Barrage, but he got the call off. The Rocket Barrage is still going to do its effect. He can't get close to do anything, so Necroman's still going to end up... Unison Farm's going to go down, so Necroman does find the kill on him. But this top lane push is stopped. You've killed off the Axe. You've rotated 2 players down. Is this still worth it for BU?
It depends on whether or not Ninjas and Pajamas actually force down that top tower, which doesn't look like they will. So I would say definitely worth it for Burden United, solely because they're behind already. Sing Sing, well, couldn't actually stop Limp there, who manages to pick up the bounty rune. As I was saying before, it's really hard to shut down the SF at this point in time, not because he's a hard kill to get if you actually get on top of him, but solely because he's just going to be spamming out raises. The creep wave comes in, 1 raise, 2 raise, and then he goes back to farming up jungle. So you actually have to plan some sort of invasion in order to shut him down. Looks like they're still going to get that top tower, though, with the Diabolic Edict to level 2. I like how Era has complete faith in Seal Kid to always set him up for that split earth. He says, I can deal with just level 1. I don't need the increased AoE.
Soshka's being a bit of a nuisance. He's just leeching the experience, not the farm off the SF. Sitting on that high ground area. But yeah, this top tier 1 tower's days is now completely numbered. Seconds is all that's really remaining for them. Seal Kid, paralyzing cast gonna fly. The Edict still kill off the towers that are running past him. But Coromir has bailed the hell out of there. And again, BU don't want to bring any support. In fact, Soshka, he's behind Limp, so Sing Sing doesn't have Dragon Form, is still on cooldown, but he's going to find Limp in the tree line. But this is when the mass TPs come in. They actually stop the Undying TP, as BU do pull back out, but Steel Kid will complete his.
Yeah, I kind of like that just because Seal Kid can afford to maybe get away from that top lane. He can go ahead and like maybe go bottom or pull or something. They've already won top lane. It's always kind of the interesting question, right? What do you do with your aggro tri lane after it's succeeded? Do you rotate it? Oftentimes you'll see it rotate to bottom and then push out that bottom tier 1 tower, but occasionally you'll see teams continue to pressure that top lane and try and go for the tier 2. I thought that might have been an option for them here, but it doesn't look like it.
No, in this case I don't think it really is an option, because you're still battling up against a very tanky style lineup that could bring more support up. So I don't feel the need for the risk, and it's not the way NiP would normally play it. They want to bring down tier 1 after tier 1, then establish good war control, know you got your mech up, then you start pushing into the tier 2 towers when you're feeling a lot more confident in your cause. And in this case, the easiest place to rotate to is the tier 1 tower in the mid. That way you can try and establish still some level of presence inside the dire jungle, and let the Axe do his thing, because the Axe is still fine. He's got a Vanguard dump.
Well,
he may not be fine now. Yeah, with that clap into the split, they're probably going to end up losing him. At the same time, Mindnut's going to die on this top lane. Shallow Grave's going to slow it down, so we can watch Unison
Oh god,
he got the gyrocopter. The stun will come in, and Sealk is going to keep him alive, letting up that Voodoo Restoration, and actually buying him the time. They haven't cancelled the salve, of course. Soshka can't get close enough to it. He'll go for the clap, but now it's actually Undying into the ultimate form. And they'll chase after him. The call will bring him back. There is the Culling Blade of Varble, and, well, there it is. Wow. Axe gets a double dunk to start off, and they may not be done yet because Limp is chasing after Come With Me. If he gets one more attack with a long raise, there it is. He actually picks off the retreating Earthshaker, and NiP just getting so much advantage in now all lanes.
Yeah, I love that. A small little play there. Hanskin, who had a Mango. Mango's great for Undying, by the way, because he's such a mana-intensive hero in team fights. He actually fed the Mango over to the Axe, and that's why he was able to get the both the Berserker's Call and the Culling Blade. He didn't have mana otherwise, so that was what gave that extra little help to get the kill onto Soshka. And now 8-2, Ninjas and Pajamas dominating display so far, and I don't think Burden United have the strength to contest.
Wow, the drop of the Tombstone for this. Unison Farm, okay. He overstayed his welcome. He's trying to creep skip it out. Now the armor's going to help him out from the call, but he's not spinning enough. Mindnuts is dropping low. And in fact, actually, he may even drop it. No, he's got enough of a heal. Or maybe he doesn't. Not with the decay. He's actually going to die. The Tombstone stays alive and actually gets denied by Hanskin. They can't get anything. Even Ira's going to arrive, but the fissure is blocked in Soshka. He had no way out. Necroman will arrive for the call down, but Seal Kid's also arrived. Going into the Death Ward, he's going to kill off Necroman in time. Ira picks up the double kill, and it's a disaster for Burden United. You might have killed off the Axe, but at what cost?
Yeah, I didn't think they could contest Ninjas of Pajamas, and sure enough, it shows in that team fight where even with superior numbers, they end up losing out quite heavily. Middle lane, Sing Sing does manage to push down that tower. They're going to try and nuke him down. Oh my god, the decay plus the double nukes.
It's just so much. Like, that's a Dragon Knight. That's a Dragon Knight with 3 points up in Dragon's Blood. He should not be going down in these cases, but...
Yeah, decay is just so good versus obviously setting up the big-time nukes of other heroes. So he decreases your HP, and then all of a sudden double raises enough to get the kill. And Dragon's Blood, that physical armor reduction, is not going to do much for you then. 12-3, 13 minutes in. Man, this game is Ninjas of Pajamas. I expected them to win this game, whether it was just from the start, and then I looked at the draft, and I felt pretty confident there.
Yep.
But I did not expect such a early lead by them by 13 minutes.
Yeah, this is pretty brutal. Like, sometimes the aggro tri lanes work for you, and the funny thing is, at the very, very start for NiP, the aggro tri lane was successful, but you're not going to say it was crushing up against BU. Like, BU got forced back out later into the early game. Like, I'm talking 5 minutes to 10 minutes into the game when they started harassing him with the Edict, and I'm still looking back to the point where BU lost to 3 men on top lane and didn't have anyone come to help them. They were too busy just trying to secure their own lanes. And the presence of the offlaner in the mid lane just hasn't really been felt. Like, Sing Sing's now going to come in. They're going to try and force this top tower. But at the same time, NiP are happy for the sacrifice. They drop down the Undying Tombstone, and they're just going to go for Roshan.
The sad thing is, right, they're expecting the Axe to initiate onto Dragon Knight. They're going to try and counter that. The problem with that is they're not actually pushing down this Tier 1 tower fast enough. They could conceivably not even get this Tier 1 tower, have Roshan fall, and still have NiP defend.
Well, they just came back in with a TP from Witch Doctor, so yeah, the rest of the team could come if they want to. Latrak also, you were talking about the fact he's so squishy. You got the soul booster build coming up, so Latrak's going to get bigger, and here they come. So Axe jumps in, instantly stunned by Sing Sing. They'll be able to destroy the tower as well into the hands of Sing Sing, as the Brewmaster already will cause a little bit of chaos too. Unison farm, he's able to get far enough back, wants to go for the coldness for the armor, but he's already dead while they send the Witch Doctor up, and this is a great fight for Burden United. NiP bit off a lot more than they could chew, and the SF up into the Hanskin. Can't really do much. He can turn around for perhaps like a 3-man decay, which he is able to get off, and now Era will finally arrive. The Lightning and Limp can turn on the damage. Hanskin still locked in the tree line. He had a lot of life to get through, and they will be able to find the kill, but it's a triple kill for Necroman. He won't be able to survive. Era had the pulse over to ensure the kill. And the Fisher, well, okay, yeah, that was a little bit too high up. Come with me, now going to get spotted. And Era, the stun is actually not there in time. Mindnuts is also hanging on the other side of the tree line. They don't know where he is. So he waits with the Observer Ward. He has to wait for the Radiant Creep Wave to leave before he can too.
It was still, I mean, Ninjas of Pajamas, maybe a bit greedy trying to save that Tier 1 tower. I know I said that they could probably defend it, and sure enough, they thought they could defend it too. The problem was Era didn't have a TP, right? Once Era's there, like, boom, the team fight is easily theirs to be had, and Burn United have to just try and mass TP out, but they just kind of got ahead of themselves a bit. You know, some fun. Jumping onto Saksha, they can get this kill.
Yep, he almost missed the call, but stopped himself halfway through it, which holds the Brewmaster in position long enough for both the Death Ward as well as the Culling Blade to finish the job.
And that means no Blink Dagger.
That is huge. Now Blink, call, and he's going to drag him back as far as possible, so in range of Limp. That's just beautifully played by Yunus.
Yep, absolutely. Now with their 4-man, they could easily take this Tier 2 tower in the bottom lane, where they already have some pretty good aggressive vision standing up. But going back to it, that pick-off on the Brewmaster was very key because it shuts down the Blink Dagger for Burden United. The initiation of the Brewmaster is what sets up, alongside the Earthshaker, sets up the Gyrocopter for success. And them not being able to have that Blink slow on multiple heroes for the call down is the only chance that they had to be able to contest Ninjas of Pajamas in these team fights.
Here goes your Tier 2 tower on bottom lane. BU decides to fortify to try and slow it down, but they're not in really any position to try and defend this. Especially when they got their Dire Creep Wave just held out. And in fact, if NiP feel confident enough, they can just go high ground.
Yeah, I mean, they have the Aegis. They might as well use it.
And you still got the mech behind this lineup too. This is what I was talking about with NiP, the early injection of money. You just find these utility items that keep letting you fight longer and longer. And the Creep Wave's not even dying to the tower attacks that quickly because the restoration was there from Seal Kid.
And that kind of positioning is still perfect for Era because he's in range of Diabolic Edict and nothing else. So it means Diabolic Edict only hits the tower. and does a good chunk of damage too. Another 2 minutes to use that Aegis. They may not try and push uphill with it. I think it's unnecessary. It's an unnecessary risk at this point in time. They can wait for the second Roshan, really.
Yeah. For now, just get bigger and better items. Unison farm. Actually interested to see what he wants to build into here. Like, does he think about getting like the coupler together? Do we get the Crimson Guard with the mech as well? Just to try and come up high ground, or he's got a crap ton of money. Like, there's still another 2,000 gold there. And on bottom lane, well, Limp, that's a haste ruined SF. He's going to chase Come With Me into the tree line and chase him up. In fact, Sealkip make sure there's no way to run out this one. There's still another teammate of his, which was down a little bit further south. But TP'd all the way back to base was Soshka. So just leaves Come With Me for dead.
And a free Bloodstone charge for the Leshrac in the process. So those kind of pickoffs are, they're all already, you know, really bad for Burn United, but it gets even worse when you've got that Bloodstone on a Leshrac who's going to be rapidly just expending that mana now just because he's got such a high amount of mana regeneration. He can afford to burst down waves real quickly. He's going to farm up even faster. Limp, I like the S&Y pickup here. So it's a pretty stat-heavy item. On top of the mech, it pretty much means he's unkillable in a lot of situations.
A little bit of a chase from the Axe coming out. NiP. Limp, he's going to wind up here on sync. Oh, no, he cancelled it! He cancelled it halfway through. He's got support coming in from the Axe, but the Axe... Okay, I think he was trying to move close enough that he could just blink up to Come With Me, but then realize the pathing isn't good enough, but Limp doesn't care. 4 hits in one race, finds the kill, and then the call onto Soshka, and he cannot split in time. There's too much damage coming out from the Shadow Fiend, so they take 2 very quick kills onto him. Suppose they didn't get the hero they wanted, which was Sing Sing, but you still got 2 and probably the tier 2 tower in mid.
So going back to your question earlier about Yonosamfan and his item build, I believe he should go Crimson Guard. Crimson Guard is incredibly good versus Gyrocopter and that flat cannon. But I would also say that Aghanims is still a possibility for him. When you have an Axe that is so very, very far ahead, the big stat increase from Aghanims, particularly the mana, is super helpful. Plus, when you are dealing with such low HP heroes, the Culling Blade kill threshold being increased even further just gives you more opportunities for dunks. So I would say, like, normally you wouldn't go for it in Axe in this situation. Crimson Guard, for me, would be a must. But in this case, they're so far ahead that Aghanims could just kind of be the nothing, the nail that seals the coffin. Sing Sing coming in with the Shadow Blade.
He's trying to catch up to Limp. Limp's got no mana here. In fact, now he's going to get Dragon Tail stunned up. And where's the support really arrive from? In fact, Limp now going to go back up to the lane. Gets clapped up by Soshka. They commit the split. And while Era stuns over on Sing Sing, Limp, he does get stunned up himself. And the Fissure will finally fly in from Come With Me, putting him down. Sealkip couldn't get there in time to give the Voodoo Restoration up.
Yeah, look how many hits it took for them to kill that SF, though, between the mech and the S&Y. He basically took, like, I don't know, 8 different shots from the Dragonite, plus 2 Breathe Fires, a Fissure, and a significant amount of damage from the Brewmaster as well.
Also, BU going to try and force the issue even further. Undying, getting hit up pretty heavily. He's going to get... Oh, there's the Echo Slam. With the Gyrocopter call down, they had enough. A Unison farm. He's actually jumped in the back there, trying to keep My Nuts controlled, so he cannot get the Shallow Grave off on Sing Sing, which means they do find this kill. Sealkip taking some fair damage from Come With Me, but then Limp buys back into the fight. They're going to use their money to win this one. And Burden United, they will be able to TP out their remaining heroes, so it's only 2 lost. They can't get there in time to get the stun off.
You got to give it to My Nuts. He's always found those hiding places. When the team fight has gone sour, he's been able to get himself away almost every single time. But yeah, still a nasty fight for Burn United, despite the fact that he started off with the upper hand. Really great counter initiation from Yonosamfan that made that fight for Ninjas in Pajamas so much easier. It basically set up the Witch Doctor for that that ward.
Yep. Has there actually been a death ward that's even been cancelled? I kind of feel like every time I've seen it come off...
Like in this tournament, it seems like never. It seems like it never happens.
It's just with at least this game. I'm never seeing a Fissure come close enough to him. Come With Me is normally trying to use this to control up the other cores of NiP, not looking for the supports to stun up. And then there's nothing else to really throw. Like, what's your last remaining range stun?
Oh, Yonosamfan, he's caught Come With Me. That's going to be another easy kill. Era now up to 13 Bloodstone charges. And Yonosamfan, well, he went for the BKB, so the Magic immunity going to make him pretty potent in these team fights. I think that's a nice high ground item.
It's also a nice thing up against Sing Sing. We saw him do it on day 1, which was to pick up that Silver Edge. Even though it's become a little bit more expensive now, the Silver Edge, it could have disabled the passive of Axe, which would have taken away most of his damage.
Sure.
But, yeah, Sing Sing's looking like he's starting to build into that, but it's all a little bit too late. With the BKB, he's fine now.
SF, what do you think he goes for next? Do you think a BKB is necessary for him? Do you think the raw stats of SNY and the heal from Mech are good enough, and he can afford to go for a greedier item like Butterfly or Scotty?
I'd actually prefer to just see the Scotty come up. I don't think he needs much more. Bottom lane, now the Sun. Just have stats to survive this initial engagement and then just survive through it. He's going to let the ulti go out in the moment, and Soshka jumps in, goes for the split. Minuts is still here trying to keep that heal coming in, and Undying sent out of the fight, but then again, he's still got the Tombstone down. That's doing the work. Seal Kid, he can't stay alive long enough. The cooldown doing enough from the Gyrocopter. It's still 1-for-1 trap. The Echo Slam from Colby controlling up Era, but he's still got enough time to get that Pulse Nova off, and the Culling Blade from Unison Farm. They'll turn around. Era running so quickly because of that Culling Blade buff up. There's your triple kill for the Axe. They find Necroman in the tree lines, but they cannot get the full team wipe up against Beat You. The TP out is successful, but you'll see this regeneration kick in. 16 Bloodstone charges on the Leshrac. They're coming for bottom tier 3.
Yeah, they might as well. They can probably just force whatever buybacks is possible, which are none right now for Burn United. Earthshaker has a buyback, but obviously not going to use his. So they'll just get some good damage on the tier 3. Not sure if they really want to take the racks, though. Force out the glyph.
They can take the range at least. Like, the range doesn't take too long to bring it down.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they know Brewmaster doesn't have his ultimate, as well as Dragonite in his Elder Dragon form. So I suppose they would still be having a significant advantage if they wanted to go for it, but doesn't look like it. I would say back up, wait for Roshan. It's a longer Roshan.
It's actually the maximum Roshan,
yeah.
too.
Plays against NiP in many ways, because they should have been able to just go force down that tier 3 and back up to Roshan, but that's not going to be the case.
And now she have a peek in. It's like, well, damn it. That was 2 out of the potential 3 minutes they had for Roshan, but no joy for them. But it's fine. There's no other towers left to take out. Unison Farm, probably the one who's closest to BU at the moment. Blinks himself away, but you could also look towards the mid lane. Sing Sing with his Shadow Blade just trying to scout out where they are. I'm fairly certain he went invis underneath the Observer Ward in the mid. Hence the rest of NiP have just bailed out of here.
All right,
How long is it until we have a gem?
Limp decided that BKB was necessary for this game, so they're going to have 3 different BKBs. Axe already got his, both Aleshrek and SF getting theirs right now. So 10-second charges for the next team fight. Burden United have to find initiation, essentially. If they hope to be able to win a fight, it's going to be through catching NiP by surprise and chain stunning down the SF or the Leshrac before they can get off that BKB.
Because they're definitely not going to do it to the Axe.
Certainly
the Axe
not,
is now walking around with a plate mail as well on top of his BKB and his Vanguard. I just don't think there's enough damage. And we sit at that point too with the Gyrocopter where we ask the question, when does he become effective? Like, there's no way he can afford up a Monkey King bar before the next fight's going to begin. Do you just try and get something like a Crystallis and buy yourself the time? I know it will sacrifice your buyback if you've got it. My nuts. Spin, spin, there's the spin, and too early on the dunk. He knew it was the only chance he had, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it had to try and get in the dunk before the heal came out, essentially.
Yep.
And wasn't quite enough. Ninjas of Pajamas will still take a free Roshan. Burden United, even if they know they shouldn't be trying to contest, they just got to try and split push as heavily as possible and hope that NiP don't push uphill. But I'm sure with this Aegis, they will attempt a push uphill in the next 5 minutes.
Sing Sing almost finished off that tower. They let him stay around a little bit longer, so potentially they can catch up to him. As he will go into that Shadow Blade. Not seeing dust, and there's your TP out. They're going to find him, but there's no disable. So Sing Sing's out to safety. And the tier 2 tower was still denied in mid.
You know,
I don't think they really care at this point.
You know what I would like to see for the next item on Leshrac?
What would you like to see?
I would like to see the upgraded Boots of Travel. Because of the fact that he is level 15 and has 16 Bloodstone charges, it pretty much means he has no death timer. So when they try and push uphill, and say the Leshrac happens to be the first to die, he'll pretty much have no death timer whatsoever. And with the advanced Boots of Travel, he can actually just TP into one of his allies who's already deep inside the enemy base. How do you deal with 2 rainbow ponies?
Yeah,
it's not possible.
You can't. It really is impossible, man. And that's actually beautiful. Like we saw it with the SF before on bottom lane when he bought back. and they just were able to find such huge amounts of damage that BU lost the fight because of this. You just use your money advantage, which is quite high. It's over 20,000 net worth advantage to just win the game. Because that's all it really matters. Like, holding on to gold for a very long time doesn't achieve you anything. And Eero, well, he really doesn't care about this tower. His regeneration is still 15 a second.
Yeah, he's willing to burn the Aegis here right in front of the enemy.
Yep. Still, like, the only thing that's really cost BU is to use that cooldown, but then again, here comes the big boys with the BKBs up and running. Necroman's at least got his, but he's realizing that won't protect him from the physical damage of Lim, who now winds up the ulti, but who is it really for that? And Undying Tombstone's keeping a lot of control, and the Axe, a perfect jump in. He wants the Culling Blade. He's been stunned up, however, and he'll go through that shallow grave. So there goes your Gyrocopter. It's a double kill, and BU are being ravished in their base. GG is the call. So game number 1 goes the way of Ninjas in Pajamas.
Yeah, pretty straightforward victory, I would say, for Ninjas in Pajamas. They basically just outdrafted their opponent. The draft itself was not bad for Burn United. The problem is their lanes were just so insufferable, right? They basically lost every single one of their lanes, and that makes it pretty easy for Ninjas in Pajamas to take an advantage and roll with it.
Yeah, but it is, as you guys said, when I was asking you what is the ideal scenario for BU, what do they want to go for? You guys said they want to have those 3 core heroes, but as you said, the lanes were switched up at the end and it didn't work out for them.
Yeah, we even wanted them to split up their supports. And I was saying maybe go like Empire, go for the Dazzle Earthshaker. They did. But then aggro tri-lane from NiP, it forced both supports into that one area. So the 2 other cores, mid and bot, couldn't do anything really. They didn't have anyone coming in to help them out, and they suffered. The Axe pretty much destroyed Sox going out on that bot lane, though. The rune control was amazing. You pointed it out every single time. He was there getting the call off, moved into the river, and that bottle was always empty.
It really felt like NiP, for the whole game, dictated everything. They knew when the fights were going to happen, and Bird United just had to turn up to them. That was what it... I feel like BU never played any game that was their own.
I think Burn United really fell into that trap too often, right? That they were constantly going, NiP are doing this, we need to address that, right? And I think that was unnecessary. I think that, honestly, the defensive tri-lane was a guaranteed loss, that there was no way they could go for that. So in that case, why not put more power and more pressure on the Axe, whether that's rotating and having Gyrocopter Earthshaker as a dual lane up against the Axe, or even just having the Dazzle there with the Brewmaster makes a huge difference. That kind of 2v1, the heal particularly for the Brewmaster in a melee versus melee scenario is quite powerful. I think that would have been a better way for them to gain an advantage in the early game, rather than just saying, they're doing an aggro try, that means we have to defend their tri lane. I think that general mindset, whether it's that specific example or the whole entire game, is really what was Burn United's biggest downfall.
I think a problem there is that you've got to try and preemptively do it, because if against the Leshrac and Undying you want to try and switch lanes, one hero has to move from NiP, the Undying. Whereas with Burden, you have to switch 2 heroes, 3 heroes, and you're constantly stuck in this trap where you're wasting TPs, you're wasting 40, 50 seconds to move someone up to top lane, move them back down to bot, and then you get stuck in this trap where Axe is literally sitting in one lane saying, thank you very much, I'm going to get my Blink Dagger faster than anyone.
Actually, something Durka was pointing out as you were just talking about the fights and how NiP kind of forced them onto their opponents. The sentry use by NiP was just incredible. Well done.
Every single fight, there were sentries being placed for that DK. And because they were lasting there, when 23 minutes in, it was Sing Sing looking for Shadow Fiend down at bot lane. They pinged it out instantly. 3 people TP down to bot lane, and Sing Sing's there, juking around the trees, trying to chase the Shadow Fiend, and there was nothing he could do every single time. He's being caught out just because of that knowledge. If we place a sentry in this spot here, we'll win our team fight because we know where DK is coming from, but also later on, if he tries to invade our jungle, if Burden want to try and make a move, we'll be ready.
Do you guys feel that with a better draft, BU could take the second game? Or rather, would you pinpoint it all down to the draft? Or was that also stuff in-game which really...
I would put it down to Bird United need to draft something which allows them to play their style. Like, if they can do that, like, I don't care what heroes they're picking up, as long as they're the ones that decide what they're going to do, then they have a lot better chance. But if they play NiP's game, they'll lose.
Yeah, I think the pick's obviously a problem, right? You're going to lose every single lane, but I would say it is aggravated even further by the fact that they decided to just constantly try and address what Ninjas in Pajamas were doing. So I agree with Toby that they need to try and focus more on their own playstyle rather than addressing whatever NiP threw at them. Obviously, a better draft, a better laning phase in particular would be stronger, would be a lot better chances for Burn United, but I still say that Ninjas in Pajamas should take the second game.
Well, it is a best of 3, and we will see if Ninjas in Pyjamas will be able to tie it up to a 1-1, but that will happen after a quick commercial break, so don't go anywhere. We should be right back.